the percentage of people who are consuming this content versus the percentage of people who are actually taking action on it, massive difference there. What's up, what's going on? My name is Sabrina and welcome back to the channel. Here in the Better You space, we teach creatives, dreamers, and entrepreneurs how to make their daydreams into their real daily lives. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the number one thing that deciphers the people who evolve and grow and succeed and achieve their goals, and the people who often will stay stagnant, getting stuck in cycles, and really wishing and hoping for different circumstances. If you like what you hear today, give the video a thumbs up to help out the channel. Subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified every time I post a new video. If you're looking for a deeper transformation, feel free to check out our signature program, Unleash Your Life, in the description below, or private one-on-one mentorship with me. And with that being said, let's get into the video. Now, have you ever wondered what is the difference between the people who constantly are evolving and growing and succeeding and the people who seem to always be getting stuck in life? What is the difference? I've seen these patterns show up in my life, in my audience's life, and the people around me. And in order to explain what it is, I wanted to give a personal example. So lately, I have been getting a lot of messages and signs that I need a little bit more structure in my life, in my business, in my day-to-day. I am someone who is very aspirational. I have a lot of goals, and I was feeling really called to create more structure. So what did I do? I decided to sit down, figure out a plan. Okay, how am I going to create more structure in like a practical way? I created systems for like my to-do list, basically for business and for my personal goals, and for like my fitness goals. And then I started to implement them every single day. I went to my journal, I went to my notebook, I went to my planner. Okay, what's on the schedule for today? Let's make sure I have the structure in place. Let's make sure that I'm implementing these new habits that I'm creating for myself, that I feel called to create for myself. Now, this is what I like to call embodiment. And this isn't to say I'm perfect either. This is just an example. But embodiment of what you know you need to do, what you know you feel called to do, the changes that you know need to happen. And not just knowing it on a mental level, but in a body level, seeing that change, implementing some kind of change in habit, change of action, you are acting in some kind of different way that is more aligned with your higher self or where you're wanting to go. That is embodiment. Now, what happens a lot of times to the people who feel stuck and stagnant and get stuck in certain cycles, which is okay if you're like this person, I'm going to tell you what you can do in a minute if you are one of these people. But a lot of times I'll see people knowing what they need to do, but it's almost like they get caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday's things and they like forget to take action on it, or there's always some kind of reason as to why their behavior hasn't changed or why they're still doing the same thing. And they feel like this mental block. They feel like they can't change it. They feel like no matter what they try to do, it's like hard for them to get out of it. And this is not embodiment. This is knowing what you need to do and not embodying the lessons that you're learning, not embodying the direction that you feel called to go in. And you can tell a lot of times just in someone's energy who is embodied, whose actions match their words, whose behaviors match their words, versus someone who has high wishes, has high hopes, but their behaviors and actions do not match where they want to go. The embodied person takes the lesson and they run with it. It's constant evolving. It's constant integrating. And this goes for personal life lessons too, not just with things you've learned for your career, but just raising your level of consciousness on a whole through personal lessons. Like I remember a few years ago, life kept bringing me like these really difficult conversations, like situations kept happening left and right where I was being kind of forced to have really difficult conversations. And it was really hard for me at the time. Like I'd say this was like 4-ish years ago. I was really feeling uncomfortable. And I felt like the universe, as a way of like personal growth, kept shoving these lesson after lesson of just feeling comfortable in confrontation, feeling comfortable having really hard discussions, having really uncomfortable conversations. And now These conversations are really easy for me to have, and I feel like I can have extremely emotionally mature conversations with my loved ones, with clients, because of the personal lessons I've learned to be comfortable in those situations. But my embodiment of that was my past habit. You know when you're embodying something and when you're not, just when there's a change in behavior. My past way of being was out of a defense mechanism, like my past self, I used to be so different than who I am now, but I used to like shut down at hard conversations. If any kind of tough emotions came up for me, my nervous system didn't know how to handle it. I was going through a lot emotionally in the past, and I would become like a stone wall and I wouldn't be able to have difficult conversations. And so time after time again, I practiced sitting with the uncomfortable emotions. I practiced letting that lump in my throat kind of go away on its own as I ground myself in those uncomfortable situations. And I changed my behavior. I embodied the lessons that I was learning. And what I see a lot in the personal development industry is so many people will take all these master classes and workshops and courses and hire coaches. And it's like consumption overload, like consume all of this content of how to better themselves. But the percentage of people who are consuming this content versus the percentage of people who are actually taking action on it, massive difference there. I want you to ask yourself, are you actually integrating the things that you are learning? The more you can integrate your lessons, the way faster you can evolve, the way faster you can grow, which means more results in your life, more happiness, more love, more success. Because you can have the knowledge of like 100 libraries inside of your head, but until there is some kind of changed behavior or you take some kind of action on it, you're going to pretty much stay the same person. It's in that changed behavior that you change your state of consciousness, and in changing your state of consciousness, you shift what you attract and allow in your life. And if you find that you are one of those people that consumes a lot and you haven't integrated a lot, that's okay. Like there's no shame in the game. But just notice it, right? Bring your awareness to it. That's how we create change on any aspect, is first awareness. And maybe go slower with consumption. Take that time to really process and ask yourself, after learning something new, after taking a workshop, after taking a course, after just having a day with your family, like this doesn't need to be anything big, but ask yourself, what lesson or what big takeaway did I learn from this? Okay, like write it down. Then ask yourself, who is the version of myself who embodies this new lesson or takeaway? Like, is there changed behavior in this? In knowing you need more structure in your life, in knowing you need to handle really difficult conversations. What changes? What shifts? And then work to every day, not just that one time sit down and reflect, but genuinely like write it down somewhere where you can see it. Like for me, this is in my mirror. I'll keep any of my friends who come over knows that I have hella notes on my mirror, and I'll put sticky notes, or I'll just put a sheet of paper, like reminding myself of something new that I'm embodying. But put these lessons somewhere where you will see it to remind yourself, because our bodies like to stay in what it knows. It likes the habitual manners, which is why it can be easy to get stuck and stagnant and in certain cycles. So keep reminding yourself of this new way of being. And as you continue to shift your way of being, shift your behavior, shift your state of consciousness, you're going to evolve so much quicker. And this is the difference between people who get what they want out of life versus the people who stay stuck in almost in a sense of like victimhood, of feeling like they can't change their lives. Okay, if there's been a shift in camera, it's because my battery died. I had to restart a new video. But the reason why people may not be embodied is not because they're not capable or there's something wrong with them or it's because they're lazy. It's not because of any of that. A lot of times it's because people get so caught up in the daily hustle and bustle of our everyday lives, and they don't give themselves the space to reflect and to process what they've just learned, whether it be practical information or like general personal life lessons. There's no like mental space for them to do that. And so then they end up staying stuck in their kind of tunnel visioned perception of their lives and themselves in their mind, and they don't create the change needed. Another reason why people can not embody the things that they're learning is because their self-concept of themselves is viewing themselves from a lower light. They don't view themselves as someone who is capable of creating this change or is worthy of creating this change or who is someone who is changing. Like, their perception of themselves may stay the same. And so through practicing embodiment, through practicing what you preach and practicing what you feel called to do and what you know you need to do. And I want to make sure that you guys are starting to talk to yourselves differently in your mind. You start to perceive yourself as this person who behaves in this new way or someone who does this new thing, whatever the change is. Start viewing yourself in this higher light of, I can do this. I am doing this. I am fully capable of this. Like, I'm proving to myself that this can be a reality for me, that this is my reality. And I personally believe that confidence has so much to do with your success. I heard this quote recently that said, the difference between people who succeed and people who don't are the people who succeeded were cocky enough to believe in themselves to make it happen, versus the people who didn't succeed didn't mean that they were any less capable. They just didn't believe in themselves to create it into fruition. And this isn't to say that we necessarily need to be cocky by any means. I definitely feel like being humble is a great characteristic trait to pair with grounded confidence, but really start viewing yourself as this person who takes the action, as this person who creates the changes, as this person who is consistent and determined and persistent and whatever resonates with you and where you want to go. In order to create the change, you need to believe that you are capable of creating the change. If you might have the consistent thoughts of, I don't know if I'm capable of creating change, what if I fall back? Like, let's start really shifting the way that you talk to yourself. Shift your self-concept, shift the way that you view yourself. In doing that, it'll make the embodiment piece so much easier. And just practice every day, practice being this person, practice embodiment on a mental, emotional, physical, spiritual level. Something I have learned and I'm very passionate about is that you are never stuck in any type of way. If you have always shown characteristic traits of not being consistent, of not taking the action, of not being embodied, you are never stuck like that. There is now way too much science backed up into how we can reprogram our minds, retrain our emotional bodies, like create this deep, genuine change in ourselves. All you need to do is start practicing. You are never stuck a certain type of way, but the people who create the fastest change and who sees the most results in their lives do take these lessons and they run with them. These are the types of women that I call into my private one-on-one mentorship containers. This is why transformation is so inevitable in these potent containers, because I don't give in to any of your worries or doubts. I just simply don't believe them. If you have thoughts of like, oh, what if this doesn't work out? Or I don't know how I'm going to create this change. That's great. We can acknowledge it. We can validate the way that you feel. But then we're going to switch it over, because I don't allow us to sit and mull in this place of victimhood for very long. We work through it and we immediately switch it over to, okay, in what ways can this work out? In what ways are we going to create this change? Because if you have this vision for yourself, you have this vision for yourself for a reason. It is meant for you. It is your destiny. And if there's a will, there's a way, baby, and we are going to find it. And I can also hold that space for you because I've held that space within myself when I've gone through the same, most likely, doubts and worries and fears. But this is the duality of having the softness of holding space when your heart is tender, but also giving the tough love when you need it, of pushing you, of showing you what you are really capable of. Because it is too common that people, just as a collective, doubt themselves. We need to all start seeing ourselves in a higher light, because in that, we are able to be so much more embodied and create the transformation that we are wanting to see, not only in our lives, but in the world, creating a new way of living in the world. And if mentorship with me is something that you feel called to in your journey of making your daydreams a reality, feel free to apply. Because mentorship is such a luxury that can take you where you want to go so much faster and so much easier. This is not just me telling you what to do. This is me doing life with you. This is me taking you under my wing and giving my all to you, opening myself intuitively to you, connecting with your soul and your personal vision. so that we can create the most transformation for you. It's such a personal and intimate space where we not only focus on the energetic shifts that need to be made, the mental, the emotional, but of course the practical shifts that need to be made, while empowering you to step into this higher version of yourself, to show up in a way that you've never shown up before. And if right now you have this resistance to taking action and you may not have a really strong trust in yourself to follow through on what you know you want to do, I recorded a video a while ago talking about how I overcame self-sabotage in business that gets a little more into how to regain that trust back in yourself and be consistent in taking action. So I'll link that above in case that's helpful for any of you. So let me know if this video was helpful for you. I'd love to know in the comments below. Go ahead and leave a butterfly emoji if you have made it to this point, so I know who has watched until the end. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Share it with someone who may need it. Again, if you're interested in our signature program, Unleash Your Life, or in private one-on-one mentorship with me, the links are in the description below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.